Guys, we're down here at Gamble Park hanging out, and I was thinking about some things been going on this week and was going to share with you guys. Um, some of you may have not have ever heard of something called scabies. It is a decently common childhood thing, adults too, but especially children. It's along the lines of, worms and lice. It is a skin infection. It's a little tiny little burrowing mite that gets in your skin and creates tunnels and lives in it. We won't go into too many details on that because it's kind of creepy. One of the reasons it spreads so much is it is skin-to-skin contact. So you would think, oh, well, how many people are you really rubbing against? But part of the problem is it doesn't always show its rash and make you be itchy for 2 to 6 weeks after you already have it. So you might say you run into a friend you haven't seen in forever, give them a hug, and then you go on about your business, and then 2 to 6 weeks later you start itching and you have no idea. Like, you're not going to automatically think, oh, what was I doing 2 to 6 weeks ago? You're just like, why am I so itchy? And apparently a lot of doctors now, because I guess it's not as common as it used to be, or a lot of people don't talk about it, there's a lot of doctors who are like, oh, I don't know what that is. Put some hydrocortisone on it. Put some lotion on it. In fact, I have a friend, her kid developed a rash. And they have eczema. It's like, okay, it's probably the eczema. They put their eczema-mitis on it. It didn't get better. They took him to the doctor. And the doctor said it's, probably contact dermatitis, which means some random thing, they don't know what, irritated your kid's skin. Put some hydrocortisone cream on it, maybe a prescription strength of it, and it should get better, and it didn't. So for like a month, they did this. Turns out, it was scabies. Luckily, my kid's doctor, who I love here in Jasper, Dabs in Highland, they're awesome. I took my son in for a rash. They looked at it, it took 2 seconds, she said, that is scabies. She gives us some cream, we put it on him, and not only do we have to put it on him, it's kind of like lice. If one person in your house is getting treated for lice, treat everybody. That's one of the reasons people pass it back and forth. You didn't treat so-and-so, and they still have like a bug on them, it's going to be right back. Treat everybody. We had to wear the cream overnight, wash it off the next day, wash your sheets, vacuum everything real good. You should be good to go. They do advise, some doctors say once is good, some doctors will tell you do it again a week later, just to make sure. So we did it a week later, just to make sure. So very grateful, our doctor said that's what this is. I think part of the problem it spreads so much is nobody wants to be like, oh hey, we got scabies. So nobody knows who's had it, when they've had it, or anything like that. And it's, like I said, 2 to 6 weeks before it shows up. So for all I know, my kid could have had it first, gave it to their kid, and my kid's rash just took longer to show up. Maybe theirs showed up in 2 weeks and ours took 6 weeks. We don't know. No telling. But so many people are embarrassed by these things. Which granted, it's not the greatest thing ever, but it's a common thing. It's a rash. It passes back and forth. Nobody gets embarrassed when you say, oh, I got strep throat, or oh, I got a cold. And it's all basically the same thing. Little tiny things that crawl around and invade your system and produce an undesired effect. But there's this whole thing of, oh, if you have scabies, or you have lice, or your kid gets worms, oh, you're disgusting. Now granted, the worms are kind of gross. Ella V, right there, is a thumbsucker. So you guess what happens? You know how worms work? The eggs get on you somehow and you get them in your mouth. You swallow them, they go to the other end, they get on your underwear, or you pick up your dirty laundry and you put your hand in your mouth again, and it's a cycle. It is, weird, but it's one dose of medicine, keep her clean, try to keep her hands out of her mouth, wash her hands, done. Just like, if you have a cold, you take your cough medicine. If you have strep throat, you take your antibiotics. All of these things, people get so grossed out about their kids, and that is continuing why these things keep going around. Lice, worms, scabies. Like, yes, gross, annoying, itchy, kind of a hassle. Not the worst thing that can happen. It's nothing that they have control over. And then like people be like, oh, they had scabies before, or that kid had scabies. Well, if they're treated now, you're fine. It's not like it's a lifelong thing. You had scabies once. You had a cold one time. That doesn't mean for the rest of your life everybody needs to avoid you. So I just wanted to bring up that topic because, once again, I will tell you, my kid had scabies. We don't know where he got it. We've treated it now. If you've been around us the last 6 weeks, you might want to keep an eye out. Yeah, I would show you pictures of the rash, but I don't have any really good pictures. I do have a few marks still, like on my arm, like that little mark right there, because I didn't have it that bad. I didn't have anything came up until after I put on the cream, which, another thing about scabies, it takes 2 to 6 weeks for the rash to heal. Once while it's after you've treated yourself and cleaned everything, you're no longer contagious, but you'll still have this rash. So then all the other kids are like, ew, that's gross. Yeah, talk to your kids about these things. That's just going to hurt some little children's feelings. But I was just going to put that out there. Scabies, worms, lice, a cold, strep throat, all the same. If you have it and you know it, let people know, hey, this is going on. Trying to keep it from spreading. Or hey, you need to check your children. If your kid has a random rash and your doctor says, I don't know what it is, ask them, can you make sure it's not scabies? It's supposed to be like, it has a tunnel, like there's a bump and a tunnel, but I didn't have tunnel looking things, which the tunnel is like a little red line coming out from it. And as you can see, mine were like that. And a few places where they're grouped together. There's one little spot right there. My camera's not really good for this. See, there's no tunnels or lines. Some came up looking more like a skinny oval, like a capsule type shape. Sometimes it'll look like contact dermatitis. But if the medicine's not fixing that, ask your doctor. Check for scabies. Just rule it out. It's not hard to do, not a big thing. You treat it, move on, let people know this is what's going on. It's not that gross. If we'll start talking about it more, maybe so many parents won't try to hide the fact their kids had it, and then we won't spread it to kingdom come. Because that's, annoying. And the ointment can be expensive if you don't have insurance. Medicaid's got it free, and there are some pharmacies that participate in a scale plan. So for me, it was like $10 for the ointment. For my husband, who has insurance, his insurance obviously sucks because it was $60 for the ointment for him. But the tube is actually, like, Elevie's tube was enough for Elevie, me, and my husband. So if I'd have known that, I would have had to buy his. But anyway, I digress. Kids get funk. Don't be embarrassed. Just treat it. Let the people you've been around the most know it. Treat the whole house, clean everything. You'll be fine. Have a great day. Bye, y'all. Bye, y'all. I can't talk right today.